All right, we have liftoff. All right, guys, welcome in, welcome back. Above ground world news reporting from FEMA Region 7, 1 year after the campfires. Hey, thanks out there. Suft. I don't know how to pronounce your name, but thanks out there, Super Chat. We got a lot of freaky stuff to get into, just like every night, Friday night, man. It never fails. Tons of different news to get into. The deployments are still going on. As we can see here, let me get this full screen so you guys can see that a little better. We can see like literally nothing has been built back in the Paradise area, including homes. I mean, maybe one or two things have been built. It still looks just toasted. Like these people are never going to get their land back. Complete land grab, complete assault on the American homeland. Look, it's just all brown, scraped clean, no evidence, and that's how they roll. Man, pretty bad stuff. But it's going on down in Australia right now, same thing. You know, at the same time the Paradise fires were going, there was fires down in Australia. It's like they mimic each other. But all these leaks will be in the description. Let me go ahead and get out of that. It's just buffering everything down. You know, it's pretty strange how we push these subjects every night and we force mainstream and colleges to try to come out and you know, put their spin on what we talk about. Here's coming out of Imperial College of London. Satellite tracking shows how ship tracks affect clouds and the climate. Let me try to zoom in on this so I can read it a little bit better. There, that looks pretty good. Yeah, they incinerated the people of Paradise. That's a fact. So, you know, and what they don't tell you in the story is some of the worst flooding ever happened after these bunker fuels were being deployed. Let's kind of read what they're talking about here. By matching the movement of the ships to the changes in the clouds caused by their emissions, researchers have shown how strongly the two are connected. You know, we've been talking about this forever, that what is climate change? What is the climate crisis? Well, it's the aerosols that are being deployed out of the planes. It's the doped up jet fuel out of the planes. It's the cargo ships. It's the cruise liners. It's the weather modification ships that are out here. That is the true climate crisis. Has nothing to do with the, you know, anything else. Of course, the grand solar minimum, they use that to their advantage. That's just part of the cycles, and the earth will always heal itself if you leave it alone. Anyway, when the ships burn fossil fuels, they release airborne particles containing various natural occurring chemicals. See right there, they're lying. It's not naturally occurring because the ships are producing it. You know, that's how they play the mind game with you. So some of these chemicals, including sulfur, these particles known to modify certain types of clouds that can affect the climate. Better knowledge of these particles, and particularly the sulfur components, affect clouds could help scientists create more accurate climate models. You know, that's another thing that they don't factor in the climate modeling. They don't factor in the aerosol dumps from the sky, from the land, water vapor generation stations, from the ships. They don't calculate any of that stuff. They just bulk it into one thing, and they blame it on us, the people. In the latest study, satellite tracking was also used to show the impact of restrictions on the sulfur in fuels, revealing the impact of the ships on the clouds largely disappears in restricted zones. This information can be used to build a relationship between cloud properties, sulfur content of shipping fuels. Importantly, this could stop shipping companies monitoring compliance with sulfur regulations that come into force. It's coming out of January 2020. The new study published in a geophysical research letter was led by researchers out of the College of London and the Oxford University of Oxford. And, you know, they don't give me the date on this, but I think I know exactly which storm this was. I think it was the beast from the east that hit over here when this was took. So what they're trying to show here is they studied more than 17,000 ship tracks from satellite observations, matched them to the movements of the individual ships using onboard GPS. Now, back several years ago, I reported on how they put tracking devices on every single ship out in the ocean. And people could take apart and track all these ships. Well, now we're seeing, you know, what it was really out there for. They said it was to, you know, catch the drug runners and all that stuff. So the researchers found that in these areas, ship tracks nearly completely disappear compared to before the restrictions under the similar weather conditions. The thing is, they have different mixes of fuel. You know, they burn the cleaner fuel when they're close to the coast, and then they crank on the nasty stuff when they get out to sea. So there's a couple of other articles that went in with this, and I'm not going to get into this, but there's supposed to be regulations on here. See, detecting ships not in compliance with regulations. But what they did is they relaxed the regulations because of the they said it helped cool the climate warming, the global warming. So it shows that the sulfate aerosols have the most significant impact on cloud formation as opposed to other components of the ship exhaust, such as black carbon. Right here, we want to know where all the black carbon dust is going. Maybe it's going into the bunker fuels. So anyway, you know, this is basically admitting that they are the climate change. I actually looked over the geophysical research letter. The impact of the aerosols on cloud properties is one of the leading uncertainties in human forcing of the climate. See, they're not calling it weather modification. They're calling it human forcing of the climate. Ships are large, isolated sources of aerosol, creating linear cloud formations known as ship tracks. These are an ideal opportunity to identify and measure the aerosol cloud interactions. The implementation of the fuel sulfur content regulations to demonstrate the central role of sulfate aerosols in ship exhaust for modifying clouds. By connecting individual ship tracks to transponder data, it showed that almost half of the ship tracks are likely undetected, masking a significant contribution to the climate impact of shipping. They're hiding it. So right here, you know, through the research, they're hiding what's really going on out there. Now here's a video from looks like John Graff. I think Crispy Critter sent this to me. This is what the air looks like over Long Beach, California. It's not fog. It's not pollution. This is coming from the bunker fuel operations out off the West Coast. Everybody's getting migraines, coughs, and this stuff is not going to stay here. It's going to slowly drift out and cover and blanket the whole United States. I don't probably have all these in order, but Anyway, hey, here's what NASA did. NASA did a gas detector plane identifies super emitters across California. It's come back out on 7/11, so this is back in July. Or was it 11? No, it's 11/7, yesterday. NASA has made a surprising discovery in California after it flew a plane across the state outfitted with specialized gas imaging centers. The new data published this week found that a third of California's methane emissions can be traced to several super emitters. In the last several years, NASA teamed up with the California Air Resources, the Energy Commission. Most methane emissions in California are from industrial facilities such as landfills, dairy farms, oil and gas fields. See, this is pretty nuts because when they get to the stats, if I can find the stats in here, they're saying that the landfills accounted for 41% of the methane emissions. And then they're saying that the dairy, manure farms, and oil and gas is the same. 26% for the dairy, 26% for the oil and gas. I call BS on that. And you got to remember, back in 2016, we caught this. We caught this mass carbon monoxide concentration explosion. This is methane. This isn't coming from the cows. This isn't coming from the factories. This is coming from something underneath. Something underneath leaked out and made a bunch of people sick, which they tried to deny it. And, this video made NASA come out with a response. And then we had to counter the response and end up getting NASA to take down their response because they were lying. This actually happened back in 2016. Now, we don't know if that's a precursor or anything to something that's going to happen in the future, but it was a huge methane explosion that come out of the ground. I think this was mainly caused from all the fracking, and something gave way, which is going to kind of lead us into some of the other news that we'll be reporting on tonight. So I don't know what the heck is going on here. A massive search. This happened back on Wednesday, or it might have happened on Monday, but they're still searching for this guy. But a massive search after an Air Force member fell out of a C-130 into the Gulf of Mexico. How in the hell did he just fall out? They don't specify anything. I tried to find updated information on this, and I just couldn't find anything. I found this one. This is the most recent article. This one come out today. Massive search continues for Florida airman who fell from a C-130. So they're still searching a 700 square mile area of the Gulf of Mexico. I mean, how do you lose a guy out of the back of a C-130? I mean, was he wearing a parachute? Did he fall in the water? There's something more to the story they're not telling us. As I was searching for that, this is pretty crazy. So 1 hour ago, a plane crashed, and it was because of a gender reveal. It was a gender reveal celebration in Texas, and it led to a plane crash. What's crazy is this has actually led to several incidences when people, are getting ready to reveal their new gender or something like that. But pretty nuts. We also had a plane crash into a house in California, sparking a fire yesterday. That's just some of the weird, freaky Friday news. Now, I have all the links in the description. So these here, let me get a drink here. These next few things here are stuff for people if they want to research into the artificial ionospheric mirrors, because now they have these artificial, some sun simulator mirrors, laser-based weapon mirrors that can tilt. So this paper describes the experimental research on the creation, maintenance, control of artificial layers of ionization in the 50 to 90 kilometer altitude range. The focus of the research assesses the potential for exploding such so-called artificial ionospheric mirrors. The aim scatters of radio waves to distances well beyond the line of sight. So this link is in the description if you want to read into the whole thing. And then we got this patent here, the artificial ionospheric mirror composed of a plasma layer which can be tilted. What does the ionospheric heaters worldwide do? They turn the ionosphere into a plasma antenna. Well, right here's the patent to show that they can angle these mirrors and bounce them around. See, this invention relates to the generation of artificial ionospheric mirror, a plasma layer in the atmosphere. The aim is used like an ionosphere to reflect RF energy over great distances. A tiltable aim is created by a heater antenna controlled in phase and frequency. The heater antenna phase shift scans a beam to paint a plasma layer. Frequency is changed to refocus at continually higher altitudes to tilt the plasma layer. This is what when I talk about when we see these heating events, like in the Arctic and the Antarctic, and then we see the clouds and we see the compression events, and even when they hit the cyclones and the hurricanes, how it almost looks like you got a microscope and you're trying to, or not a microscope, but a magnifying glass, like trying to catch a leaf on fire, and you gotta get the beam just right to get the leaf to start smoking. We see them signatures in the clouds. And here's more evidence that these AIMs cause the occlusive clouds that we see. And here's just this is coming from the AIM site. And you can see the gravity wave, but we call them the microwave clouds. These are their own pictures. They're showing us right here what they can manufacture in the sky, and that we show almost on a nightly basis what they're doing. We know that this is not natural events unless it's, up in the Arctic or somewhere at the poles where the magnetic fields are being compressed by these solar winds and protons and plasma events. But right here, these are their pictures of what they've done. Look at that. These are not real, what they call gravity waves. These are microwave clouds, what I call them. And now we'll start getting into the earthquake stuff. So, we keep getting all these crazy articles coming out about the Cascadia. Now we got one here come out a couple days ago. Ready or not, St. Louis overdue for a major earthquake tomorrow or any time. So St. Louis's newest high-rise was built to sway instead of fall in an earthquake. It's the swaying that saved the big log church during the massive 1800s quake. St. Louis, hidden far from one of the most active earthquake zones in the country, the new Madrid seismic zone. It's about 160 miles south of St. Louis. Architects and engineers kept it close in their minds while designing downtown's newest high-rise. The latest addition to the ballpark village is 29 stories of glass, concrete, and steel. And they say it's a virtual fortress. For one thing, if there's a big earthquake going on and you got a building swing, you damn sure don't want to be underneath glass. You don't want to be underneath the concrete. You don't want to be underneath the steel. This just reminds me of like the Titanic, the unsinkable ship. You know, there's many other things. How about the Twin Towers? They were supposed to be indestructible. Just like Building 7, you know, you got John Kerry on tape saying they pulled the trigger. You know, they pulled Building 7 down. There's no way they set all the explosives in Building 7 as the fires were going on the Twin Towers. All documented. You can find that video. So, yeah, so they're talking about, you know, we've been having all these earthquake. In fact, I think this month, the 19th, there's going to be another earthquake drill. And it's pretty much a worldwide earthquake bill. So whenever they put these out, man, we have to keep our eyes on this. Because, you know, we never know what they're going to do. Earthquakes can be induced by super low frequencies. Ground penetrating radar. Then you had the 2016 Cascadia Rising. Here's the Cascadia 2019 solutions. You know, the same thing they're talking about. So October 18th, 19th, both days. So this one's already passed. And then they're already talking about the 2020 Cascadia Rising solutions. We had the article yesterday about the dams in California. And then here's the bill HR 876, all information except text. The HR 876 Pacific Northwest Earthquake Preparedness Act of 2019. See, they're setting up for stuff. You know, we know they can create tsunamis, earthquakes. They can make the volcanoes go off. It's just, which disasters will they use? That's really what the question is. Yeah, pull it. That was a quote I was looking for there. 4 hours ago, this come out. Earth's mantle and crust are in a fiery battle to the death of supercontinents. You know, that's the thing. If you actually look at some of the geology and, you know, if the models are right or even semi-right, how it looked like all the land masses looked like they connected a long time ago, and that they're constantly expanding and moving. Like some of this stuff you just can't do a damn thing about. It's just the way it is. I'm probably not going to read into this article, but the link's in the description if you guys want to. Now here's an article coming about the fracking. The fracking, that's the biggest thing that worries me about earthquakes, volcanoes, because what they're doing, if you ever got on Google Earth and just search, you know, all the fracking wells, it's just insane how much fracking has been done, which is causing, you know, the real stuff about the climate change, because they're cutting off the tops of the mountain. They're clearing mountains and areas out, and then the rain can't soak into the mountain, just like they did back in the 30s when they created the Dust Bowl. Like over farming, like they're screwing up the natural resources that holds moisture in. And man, it's just, this to me is one of the most dangerous things that they do. So this article here, given how profound a effect hydraulic fracturing has had an impact on the U.S. economy in recent years, it came to something of a shock to discover how little we know about it. Blasting water, sand, chemicals into shale rock formations deep underground has unlocked vast hydrocarbon reserves previously considered almost impossible to exploit. Over the past decade, fracking as a technique has also transform the country into the world's largest oil producer, adding supply to equal all the black gold pumped by Saudi Arabia. It has remade America as an exporter, but also the controversy. They have long dodged the industry. Fracking has been blamed for causing earthquakes in Oklahoma, poisoning groundwater in Pennsylvania. New York and Vermont have banned it. Much of the controversy is driven by mystery surrounding the fracking fluid itself. Oil services giant one described fracking as employing brute force and ignorance. Well, that's about a true statement. For the first time, we have a clear picture of how the fluid used fracking underground. And they got this little graph here, how they show they dig the well down. Then they dig it horizontally. And then they dig it even this way. So that's what's going on deep underneath the surface. And then when you look at this, they use the deep imaging, uses electromagnetic field to detect the flow of the fracking fluid through the Earth's crust, and shows a chaotic scene where fluid spreads unpredictably across the rock affected by fracking are both considerably larger and shorter than planned. Take this well in Oklahoma as an example. In some cases, fluid seeps into areas that have already been fracked, meaning there's less oil and gas available to extract when the fluid don't seep as far as intended, and all that is left behind. When wells are dug in close proximity, fluid that spreads beyond the intended range of the frack could interfere with neighboring well, leaving both compromised. Fluid from multiple fracks seeped into previously fracked areas as well as space drilled by neighboring wells. So, they're submitting that they're poisoning the water aquifers, and even the radar that they use to measure this, to see this, can create an earthquake. But the thing that bothers me about this is that they're doing this all the way up through Texas, Oklahoma, Colorado, all the way up to Yellowstone. Now, what would, you're creating such a weak point, and then, you got all the magma under there. What would it take for some kind of little shift to get that magma on the rise? You could create a volcano out here in Texas. You could create a volcano somewhere along the line. You could move that magma where it shouldn't be. And then we could just have probably the most greatest ecological disaster in history. We also had a bank today went down. Commerce Bank customers had to issue with deposits. It's been resolved now. But they went hours. Nobody could get their money out. They were on their way to work, and the bank didn't work. We're probably going to see more and more of this. I know the dog's barking in the background. All right, so this is an older article, but this came out in August 5th, 2019. The Army wants high energy laser weapons on their strikers by 2022. The Army is now developing 50 kilowatt lasers for its striker wheeled armor vehicles, with plans calling for a prototype to be fielded in 2022. It's time now to get directed energy weapons to the battlefield. We already know they got them up in space. So, it's no longer research. It's now an effort or a demonstration effort. It's a strategic combat capability. So they want the 50 kilowatt class lasers mounted on four strikers blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I'm not going to read no more of that. You know, you got the Northrop Grumman in there. I can't even talk to her now. Grumman. And all the other high-tech companies. And most of this stuff that they're developing is for Civil War. So down in Australia, we'll get into the images here really quick. You know, oh yeah, and about the New Madrid zone, I almost think the New Madrid zone's not going to go off. I think the New Madrid is now in Texas and Oklahoma. I think they've fracked so bad over there with all the small earthquakes that are going off in the fracking zones. It's relieved the pressure on the New Madrid. They're creating like a New Madrid over in Texas and Oklahoma. I mean, we'll see. Time will tell. So down in Australia, we showed you the fires last night, man. They were like merging. They were splitting apart. I mean, they got just, it's like biblical fires going on out here. It got so bad that they had to evac the evacuation centers. So they are really getting it down there. Just showing a little bit of that. We got a couple articles we can show you here. So the pictures reveal widespread devastation can even be seen from space. I mean, look at these fires, man. These fires are right in the neighborhoods. Look at that smoke. We've seen the crazy color smoke on the satellite images. I mean, this is just like paradise right here. This is just like Paradise, California. But now it's down in Australia. So next year at this time, we'll be commemorating the fires of, you know, down here in Australia, just like we are today for the Paradise fires. You know, strange how they use the same dates all the time. Look at the sky, man. Look at that sky. It's like a different planet. We got tons of images here. Same thing, you know, what we talked about, that video I told you guys to watch yesterday about how they can fix deserts. They can fix, you know, tons of areas. But they don't do it. That's, you know, why a lot of these fires, you know, they set up all these, California is really bad about it. You know, they're not letting you do controlled burns through the year to keep the forest from catching on fire. I mean, you have to do fire maintenance. You have to keep, I burn my forest twice a year. I burn the undercarriage. That way, you know, I don't have to worry about a fire coming here. I mean, treetops catch on fire, you know, it's a different story, but at least I know it's not going to drip down, start another fire, and burn my house down. It's the regulations that are causing all this. So they have the bushfire emergency as temperature soars, so they're dealing with super high temperatures and also the fires. So you got tons of emergency warnings. Where was that? There was so many fires. Okay, right now, well, 16 hours ago, there was 81 fires still burning, 45 of them not contained, 15 at emergency status. Hundreds of homes have already been burned up. Look at this sky right there, man. That's insane. So yeah, we showed all that on the view. We'll take a look at that a little more here. We'll see the sync update. Hey, thanks out there, Sherry. So it was updated at 11:30. Anyway, you guys, I got all these links in the description down there. You know, I was talking about the ship tracks a lot the last few days here. And I come across this video today, how now that they've used the bunker fuel to melt the Arctic so they could open up the waterways, so they could get to the resources. Now you have these giant ships that are going through up around, up by Greenland and up around all around the north. And what it's doing is the people that live up here, I mean, you got big cruise ships out here, and it's scaring off like the seals, and that's what these people eat. That's what gets these people through the cold winters. So these little bitty towns out here are getting, bombarded by these mega boats. And the one boat in here, the tickets for this boat were this boat right here. One ticket to ride on this boat is $120,000 a person. Who the hell could afford 2 boat seats at $120,000 a piece? And the boat was sold out, and there's a waiting list. These are the elites. These people don't care about the environment. They're gonna spend, $240,000 to take a ship cruise up in the Arctic, ruining the people's land, ruining the fishing, when the prices up here for food is just ridiculous. For one tomato, avocado, it's like $20. So it's just crazy what's going on. And then all these, Hollywood actors and the Gretas, trying to say they're fighting the climate change. It's all BS, all nonsense. All right, so time to get into the maps. I was going to talk a little bit about David Miles. I was going to check out some of his research here lately. I think I'll wait off on that. Oh, I found another video of him and Dr. Mahendra at the UN. This was back in 2011. Here's a video of them in 2011. Let's see if I can play a clip of this.
There are extensive atmospheric rivers above the oceans, and we at Wxxx have the technology and the experience to harvest these atmospheric rivers and deliver rain to targeted areas. Let me give you 3 examples. In the current drought, we need to bring in early gentle rain, early gentle soaking rain in the next 45 days. And then we could extend the season. The Horn of Africa is in the short rainy season, and that could be extended to January. The second, we can replenish water wells and reservoirs by targeting the rain. We can also recharge river flows by bringing rain at the source of the rivers. During the last 2 weeks, we have visited and had discussions with stakeholders in the region. We are in consultation with the affected countries, the UN system, and NGOs operational in the...
All right, I'm not going to play no more of that. Links in the description. And, back in 2012, see, now they're called Miles Research Company, but back then they were called Wxxx and Sci Blue. Back then, they actually did a project in Texas. Them 2 guys right there. And they stole California's rain. If you go back here to the California yearly rainfall amounts, you can see back here in 2012, the whole year, they only got 8.69 inches rain. The following year, only 5 inches of rain. The next year, only 6. Texas stole California's rain. Now, Texas was getting flooded out at this time from their technology. Look at the rain amounts before Wxxx changed the atmospheric river. You can go all the way back 2005, 37 inches. 2006, 13. Now, they did have a really low year on 2007, back up 13 inches, 9 inches, 16 inches, 20 inches. And then all of a sudden they went through this 6-year drought. And that's because they affected the atmospheric river. We see it going on every year now. So 2016, 2017, they went up to 19 inches. Then the fire season, they set up for the fire season for the Paradise fires. And then right after the Paradise fires, boom, 18 inches of rain. You know, they were in a, this is all targeted. You know, all these technocrats, they know when it's going to rain. They know where to put their money on resources. Hey, thanks out there, Blue Jay, and anybody I missed out there. And, you know, if we look at the averages of these rains, we can see right now that they don't get a whole lot of rain in this time, you know, in these times. It looks like they start turning on the moisture in November. And it looks like the biggest months are going to be January, February. That's when they're going to get their most amount of rains. So maybe this bunker fuel is out here seeding the sky for the upcoming rains. But to me, when you're seeding the sky, you can overseed the sky and then it don't rain. And then you get, you know, the crappy air quality. It's all just getting stuck in there. All right, so we got all that. All right, we're ready for the maps. Let's go check Australia since right off the bat, since they're the ones that are getting just smoked out. I mean, look at the fires that are going on out here still. I mean, there's like 100 fires right there. I mean, this is all lit up. And this all happened right after they got chemtrailed. We see this before all these major fires. Is they send in the aerosol planes and then the fires start. I mean, look at this. These are just super grid. Look at all these fires. I mean, that's just insane. Look at that. All in a grid pattern. Horrible smoke. And you have to send New Zealand an air quality alert because it's all blowing straight down towards New Zealand. In fact, it's starting to come in to the north part of New Zealand. And then there are cloud seeding down here by Christchurch again. They're pulling that stuff this way for some reason. You know, the gun grab didn't work. The gun buyback didn't work good enough. So now they're using something different. So all the smoke is headed straight for New Zealand. They're cloud seeding, and they're using microwaves over here. They're hitting it with the space mirrors. So heads up for New Zealand. Pray for the people in Australia because they're getting smacked down. And what in the heck is going on in China? Look at this. Look at the air in China. It's gray. Like they are choking these people out. Same thing. Same thing. They had the aerosols being deployed a few days ago, trapping all the pollution in it. And now, like, I mean, like I've never seen it this color. Insane. So they're choking all their forced labor workers out. Same thing with India. India's going through the same thing. You got a big spraying operation up here in China. Mongolia. See, we'll probably start seeing fires pop off here in Mongolia because they're spraying out ahead of the system. Look, we got microwaves up here in Russia. We have microwaves and chemtrails. More fires for Russia. You know, the clouds don't lie. The clouds tell the truth. And we know this is, you know, this is a big weather modification area here, the United Arab Emirates. And guess what they're doing? More cloud seeding. In fact, they're actually putting out some freaky looking cloud seeding. Let me check the layer. So you can see in the morning, see if I got the morning loaded. So they just started the spraying operations, and now they're starting to drift out. And then here they are, man. They're doing off and on spraying. That's why they're cut off like that. So big spraying right over, I can't remember, is this the Black Sea? I can't remember what sea that is right there. So they're going to create some more rain for Iran and all that. See, we got cloud seeding. I don't even know what country that is. Kuwait, Iraq. Okay, Iraq. Yeah, they got rain. See, they're cloud seeding in the desert. You know, the nonsense of saying that contrails can only form with certain, you know, temperatures at a certain altitude. I guarantee there's no humidity out here. I guarantee the temperature isn't right, but yet they're creating contrails, chemtrails. Here's the Black Sea, and we have mega grid patterns. We have mega grid patterns. What, you tell me all these planes are flying out here turning off their engines? Then you have segmented spraying going from south to north. This is tic-tac-toe grids. This is targeted spraying, big time. So the whole Black Sea area is just getting waxed right now. I mean, these are the big, thick, nasty, super nasty sprayers. Probably, you know, the size of C-130s dumping this stuff. These are big dumps. All this is headed up towards Ukraine and on over, I think that's into Mongolia, up into Russia and all them places. You know, some of these places over here flooded, had a whole year's worth of rain overnight. I don't have them articles up in front of me, but like northern England got a whole month's worth of rain in 24 hours. They're mega flooding. I can't remember all the stuff that's going on out here, but yeah, it's pretty bad. You got aerosols being deployed over Bosnia. Germany's being hit. Portugal is getting a break. We can almost bet there will be a new spraying operation down here in the south probably tomorrow. Spain's getting a break. Wow, Ireland getting a break. Netherlands getting a break. They're always getting hit. UK is getting a break, but not for long. Look how beautiful Ireland is when you don't have man-made clouds wiping out the sky. Same with the UK. But look what's coming in. We can already see him starting. Hey, thanks out there a suit. So yeah, here's the new spraying operation. We can see him. You got to zoom in here. Let that load up. So the UK, Ireland, all getting a break. And, you know, by tomorrow, this whole place will be covered. We'll see if it's... Yep, they're already starting to spray over the land. Targeted aerosol. You know, and there's another thing, you know. A lot of these planes do not have the spray nozzles. But what they do have is doped up jet fuel. Most of these airliners have their own refineries. They can mix in whatever they want into the JP7s. And then they have a switch just like a boat does, where you can run off the good gas while you're by the coast, and then you turn on the nasty stuff once you get out of sight. Same thing with the planes. Most of the spraying operations are done by AI. There's a program. We've exposed the program before, the company. And here we are jumping over. Remember how bad the spraying operations were yesterday? Check it out now. Now they're over Ohio, Indiana. Just a mess going on. Illinois getting hammered. Southern Missouri. Yeah, I'm probably like, where would I be on this map? I'm probably like right in, around in this area. Somewhere down in here. So I'm somewhere down in here. So it's down below south of me. But I have the headache from it. You know, it's drifted down here. I get a headache every time they spray this stuff. Whenever they do the bunker fuel, I lose my voice. Heavy spraying over Arkansas. In fact, every southern state right now, from South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, is getting waxed. Like, you got to really zoom in, and you can see just how bad they're getting waxed. All man-made clouds. Goes all the way through Texas. Every southern state right now is getting hit. All the way to New Mexico. And we either have a fire over here in Arizona, or that's a drifted out trail. Let me check the layers. It's not showing any kind of heat anomaly, but it sure looks like smoke. That's weird that maybe there's a fire here that's not putting off a heat anomaly. We got something going on right there. Now, when you take a look at the California fires after seeing the Australia fires, these don't look like nothing, do they? Yeah, these are little fires compared to what's happening in Australia. We know what a lot of these fires were started by. You know, I don't think they really used directed energy weapons this time on these fires. Now, Paradise for damn sure. I think these fires have something to do with the fracking, you know, PG&E, and something going on underneath. Now, the area by Ridgecrest, I thought that thing dropped like 40 inches. I mean, I think it dropped like 40 feet. I'm going to have to dig into that this weekend and find out a little bit more about that. But the fires go right out all the way up through the volcanic zones. Look at the chemtrails in northern Oregon and Washington again. These are the same people that got hammered yesterday going into Idaho. You got the cloud seeding operations over here in Idaho that they shoot the rockets up. The Idaho Power Company does the winter chemtrailing. Another operation over Nebraska, South Dakota. Really hard to see anything up here in Canada because they're so inundated with the bunker fuel. When you look at it like this, you can't even see the bunker fuel till you hit the layer. It's almost all blown out. There's so much bunker fuel, but I got another program that's going to show it. They're still there. We have a new aerosol program all the way up here by BC and Alaska. So brand new spraying operation. All underneath the Gulf of Alaska. All right, let's go take a look at the RAM slider. Yeah, the thing is, you know, we looked at the ship tracks out here. We looked at the chemtrails. I looked at all the different layers of water vapor. I've looked at the sulfur. These are not sulfur. They're not water vapor. They're something else. Same with the chemtrails. You know, the chemtrails usually show up as a water vapor in the mid levels to the high levels of the water vapor, which we could bring up we could bring this up and check. But the aerosols they were deploying yesterday were not neither. They weren't water vapor, and they weren't sulfur. there's something else. It's a different mix. You know, they could be putting out a drying agent. You know, the government's trying to take out PG&E. I mean, believe me, PG&E is not a good company. I mean, they do weather modification from space. They do cloud seeding operations. So over on the RAM slider, I went through every known element to try to figure out what this stuff is. And it's like here, you can tell the dark blue lines, that's going to be the chemtrails. But if you put it on the upper level water vapor, we'll see if they show up. Now, they didn't yesterday. They might today. I don't know. And, of course, it's still getting some interference. So, yeah, it's not going to be showing up in the water vapor either. Because they're not deploying water vapor. They're not contrails. They're something else. These are something else. All these bunker fuel operations have been out here for days and days now. We normally watch them up in the high pressure zones. They're affecting the jet stream. Yeah, just don't show up good on there. Yeah, that's about the best view I can get of them. So there they are. Yeah, they're still rotating around. But yeah, I showed in the footage in the beginning of what the sky looks like in California. It's a mess. It's all nasty. One thing before we go, I want to check over here on the cyclone page. So we still got our tropical storm Hailong headed over towards the west coast, but they're going to block it. That's probably going to be our next big weather maker. Then we got tropical storm Nakarai still out here. Cyclone Mato still out there bouncing around. Let's go ahead and just look at the mimic real quick. So here's all the rivers of the sky. This is what the Wxxx company and the Miles Research Company, the Global Trading Company, the Weather Generator Company, this is what they steer. See, they're blocking any moisture from getting into California at all. Like what I'm seeing right now is actually good. I'm not seeing them pull this atmospheric river up through the Midwest. I mean, if they start pulling the atmospheric river up through the Midwest like they did all summer, and then that cold air gets here, we're going to be looking at record amounts of snow. Then you top in all the weather modification, all the bunker fuel, all the volcanic ash that went off this year. We're talking an ice age like now, not years from now. We're talking this year. So really, that's actually where the atmospheric river should be going up. But it should be whipping up, spinning around, just like all the other ones are spinning around. Except for where there's manipulation, like right here. This is right where David Miles is bringing the rain in for the farmers. Look, it's spinning opposite of where it should be going and being pulled right up into the target zone. Exactly. That's the ongoing weather mod down there in Australia. Look, it's not going over to the fires. In fact, they pushed away the atmospheric river where the fires are. But it's staying right where they're doing their weather program. Anyway, guys, we're going to call this a show. I want to thank everybody out there that helps us and shares this stuff out. Going to give my voice a rest here. Thanks everybody out there super chat and people send stuff into the PO. Much love out there. Definitely helps keep us going and all that stuff. And all that. Anyway, guys, we're going to have to rise up, man. People of California, you have to rise up, man. They are dicking you guys. They're taking your land, and you're not getting it back. They're burning you out. Somebody's got to take a stand out here. Anyway, guys, much love. We'll see you tomorrow night, God willing. And we'll see what kind of stuff we can come up with tomorrow. Anyway, guys, much love. We're going to play a song called Rise on the way out. You're going to have to rise. No such thing as global warming.